station come back again, please? The mobile station. I copied Alpha 2, Tango Sierra, question mark. Can we try that again, please? I believe I had Alpha 2, Tango Sierra. Roger. Yep, I appreciate the contact today from the mobile station of Alpha 2, Tango Sierra. This is Whiskey 4 Bravo, having a special event tonight for honoring the 100th anniversary of the town of Bradenton, Georgia. We're about 15
Okay, we're setting up, and let me turn this audio down.
And find out information how to get one emailed to you. Alpha 2, Tango Sierra.
That's a special event happening on the 40-meter band, amateur radio band, and I'm still, bear with me, I'm still setting up here. The problem is some of the things that I need to check before I seem to be able to do that without going on the air. So that's why I'm still futzing around here and trying to get things going. What the plan is I think I will try to do I won't say weekly, but I'm going to try to do Hangouts on the air on Saturday mornings at 9 o'clock. I can say not for sure every Saturday or exactly at 9 o'clock. It's going to be kind of open for now. I don't, excuse me, I'm still doing other things at the moment. I don't know if I can really stick to a schedule, so bear that in mind. So anyway, the idea is I'm going to broadcast from my shack. This is downstairs in my, what used to be a garage, but was never a garage because it's too small. So I turned it into my workshop, and most recently I turned it into my Radio Shack workshop. And I am really tight in here. If you saw some of my older videos where I kind of scanned around, I can almost touch everything that's in this room because it's moved in on me over the years. What am I doing, Joshua? I'm trying to do a Hangout on the air. I hope to do more of these in the future, but I'm still getting back into how do you do this and how do I get things set up. So that's where we're at. Hopefully we will be able to do these Hangouts from my shack on maybe on a semi-periodic basis on Saturday morning about 9 o'clock. And then we'll have other Hangouts. The reason I've gone to Hangouts once again is my screen capturing software has a limitation of just 10 minutes. So Hangouts, if you can get it working, will give you up to 8 hours. So that's why we're trying to get Hangouts on the air going. Matter of fact, it's so close in here, I was setting up a little table for my old laptop so I could monitor the chat window. And I went in a house and got one of these TV tray stands. It's wood. They're pretty heavy. We got about half a dozen of them. They're pretty heavy, but it's about the right size for a laptop. And as I was setting it up, I dropped it on my foot, and now I got this big goose egg on my foot. It seems that my right foot, if I injure a foot, it's always my right foot. So battered all the time. Okay, let me look back in the chat page. We got Temple Man. We got Local and DX Radio. We got Joshua. And we got Larry. And we got 1205 Jurgensen. All right, pretty good. Yeah, Temple Man, it hurts like the devil. So I may cut this hangout a little shorter than I had planned. So anyway, let me see if I can screen share and show you what I'm working on this morning. So let me find, Subway is finding things. Okay, here we are. So I can share. And I found from past experience, the only screen I can share without it messing up is the entire screen. I can't share a window. That always seems to mess up. So you're going to initially see this mirror effect. Here's the mirror effect, which is sharing myself, so on. But now I can close this screen down, and I can close this screen down, and I can bring up this is the software I'm using right now. Let me hide this. As some of you might know, recently I've been trying to get this Fifi SDR dongle, not dongle, it's a receiver, full receiver, excuse me, working with various software packages. And the one thing that I've discovered, which is not a big discovery, everybody's probably discovered who's fooled with these things, is that the programs interact with each other in that you run one program and it will mess up something you had working and vice versa. So I'm struggling with that. I'm trying to decide on which program for which program to use with this Fifi SDR. And right now I'm tied between Genesis and this SDR console. Now I tried to run SDR console version 3. You go back to some of my previous shows, you will see version 3 running. And it seems to work. But the problem with version 3, it's still in the experimentation stage. And I try to find some documentation of how it works compared to 2.3. Didn't find anything. Simon, who's the author, responded to my request, and he says, this is experimental. We don't have any documentation yet. So this morning, playing around with the SDR, I was trying all the programs that I had used in the past to see if they would work with this Fifi SDR. And I tried SDR console version 2.3, which is a release version. And there's a lot of documentation out there for it. I've used it in the past for TV dongles, and I didn't realize that it would talk to this Fifi SDR, and it does. As you can see, it's running right now. Matter of fact, let me turn the volume down so I'm not continuing to compete with the volume. There. So it's working right now. It's working quite well. What I was listening to before I went on the air is the 40-meter amateur radio band, and there's a special event going on from Georgia to celebrate something. I think the club or something. I don't know. And it's, it was something that, excuse me, my sinuses, it was something that was very active this morning. So I thought, well, that's good as any. And earlier, man, my sinuses drive me nuts this time of year. Earlier, I was getting Radio Australia loud and clear, China Radio loud and clear, and then that's usually good for me from about 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. and then it starts going away. So I gave up on that. So I've got the SDR console working. Now, another example is of frustrations is I had it working and I had to do something else. So I shut it down and I came back to it and then it wasn't working. Now I had not run any other SDR control software, but it was like, it's not working. It's not working. What's going on here? When it's not working, this program and other programs, it gives me a big, massive noise input. And I think what that is, I think it's the input from my webcam. It's not from the radio. So for some reason, it changed the configuration. So I happened to look in the configuration, saw it was changed, selected the right one, boom, it's working again. I apologize for my voice going bad. But as you can see, it's working. And I can say I used to use this program quite a bit with my TV dongle SDRs, and it worked quite well. And I learned how to use it. Well, I've forgotten how to use it. Boy, how soon I forget. Oh boy, my foot is now pulsing. Okay, let's see what's in the chat. Larry is in the chat now, Larry L. And D. Raft is in the chat. Welcome to the chat. Right now I'm still learning how to use Hangouts. So I'm still struggling a little bit. I did finally find an old Toshiba laptop running Windows XP that will allow me to watch the chat on another screen so I can look back and forth and see the chat instead of having to switch screens on my main computer, which is only my main computer down here in my workshop is only a dual core Dell computer. It's nothing fancy. So I am really surprised that it's able to run this program plus the Hangouts and some other things it's running in background. So totally amazed that it's hanging together. We're getting there. I've done a bunch of test runs and I think I'm pretty close. Now, the only other thing that I'm struggling with, well, I shouldn't say only, one of the things I'm struggling with related to Hangouts and doing my shows is when I was doing my shows from my office, I have a quad computer and I have a external mixer. It's an external hardware mixer. It's a Behringer standard mixer that people who do audio recordings and music shows and stuff like that use. This is this nice small one. It's got 4 channels, lots of controls. But I don't want to destroy or tear that down. But I need a mixer down here. Main reason being to bring in the audio from a radio. Now I'm really at it, and I kind of had that set up down here with a audio cable into the line input to the back of this computer. But since right now I'm using an SDR radio and I'm getting the audio directly from it, actually there is a jack on this SDR box, and I got to go back and remember what that is. I don't think it's audio. I think it's something else. But the problem is it's the SDR, the FIFI SDR is via the USB port sending the audio to my computer. And then my computer sends it out the speakers, out the speakers. And so right now I'm having to just use my headset and hold it up or near the speaker so you can hear the output of the audio. I don't want to do it that way. I want to have a separate input to the live feed coming from that SDR directly and not coming through the speakers. Another reason I want to get that going is I want to be able to set up the computers and the SDR to capture high frequency shortwave facts, weather facts. And I did an illustration of that a couple of shows ago, but I was doing that by holding my microphone up to the speakers and trying to capture that way, which means I have to turn off all the ambient noise in the room so that the software that's capturing that audio signal from the weather facts transmission is only getting that, and it's not getting all the background noise. So that's the next thing, not the very next thing, but that's one of the things I've got to get working, is a mixer to my computer so that I can bring in radios and bring in my headset and other things and be able to mix them and change the volume of each. Like right now, if I had a mixer, I could just turn up the audio on the output of this SDR radio. And now what I have to do is I have to go here, turn up the audio, which is no audio at the second, and there's nothing going on.
Nice signal there coming into Appleton, Georgia. I've got
there it is.
United 3X-ray.
So your only way you're hearing it is through my microphone, which my microphone's a headset, and it's probably 2.5 feet away from the speakers. So that's not the best way to do that, because you're not getting a good representation of what I am really hearing myself. Okay. Is there any, is the chat room stopped, or just everybody's kind of sitting and watching? I guess everybody's sitting and watching. That's okay. That's fine. If you have any comments or suggestion about my Hangouts, or even what I should do during a Hangout, like I say, today or this morning, I'm just kind of showing you what I was doing a half hour ago and just playing with this software. The other thing, and now let's try switching back to my webcam. Let's see, Alt Tab, and we'll go to the Hangout window. Now you should be seeing that mirror image. I'm going to stop the screen sharing, and hopefully, yep, that brought my webcam back. There's my webcam. And what I'm going to do in a future show, and that's another thing I'll discuss about what I'll be doing in future shows and asking for any suggestions for future shows. But anyway, what's coming up in not too distant future is a review of this book that I just got. It was sent to me by one of my subscribers, which is remain anonymous. It's the 2015-16 Pirate Radio Annual. And Mr. Yoder puts this out every year. And it's a information book about pirate radio stations. And I'll be going over that in the near future, probably maybe not the next show, but one very soon. So that's what's coming up. Also, speaking of books, I've got all those books that someone sent me to give away. The next giveaway will be show 950, which we're coming up on pretty quick. So that's the other thing we'll be doing. I want to, because somebody was requesting, how come you haven't, two things I've gotten requests on recently is get back to reviewing radios. And one of the reasons, or should I say, one of the excuses I'm using for not reviewing radios is the fact that, except for very expensive radios, I'm speaking of either shortwave radios or AM FM radios with like recording capabilities. But what I was trying to say is there's not been that many new ones on the market, at least not new ones that look like they would be a good radio. I try to select radios that I think will get a good review. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. Um, DRAF, it says, how about revising or revisiting some if your classic radios again live? Yeah, that's one thing. I don't know if it's you suggested, but somebody else suggested it, is to go back and review either some of my other old radios. And the one problem I have there, oh, I got so many problems. The one problem I have there is most of my old radios, classic radios, are heavy. They weigh from 30 to 50 pounds, and I just can't move them anymore. And what that means, either I have to get my neighbor, who's still in good health, unlike me, to move them for me temporarily so that I can show them on camera, or move a camera over to where they are. And many of them are either buried somewhere in this room or they're in uh, offline storage shed that I have about a mile from me. So that's the one drawback of that. The the other thing is, and I've thought about doing this several times, and I've started doing it a little bit, is to go back to small radios, either a small desktop or a portable radio, and revisit it, go over in more detail specific characteristics. So that's another thing I'm thinking about doing, and I can do that on a Hangout. Um, again, so that I can make it interactive so that the people who are watching can make comments and questions on that specific radio. So that's another thing I'm thinking about doing. So we got some ideas of what I might do in the near future about with Hangouts. Again, the advantage of a Hangout on the air is I can do screen captures for up to 8 hours. So I don't have a limitation on screen capturing, and I like the idea of this feedback window, this chat window, so that people can make comments as I'm babbling and say, tell me, hey, why don't you quit babbling and talk about something real? So that's another thing that has an advantage in doing a Hangout. Okay, let's see what we're doing on time. We're up to about 20 minutes. I typically want to have these Hangouts only be 30 minutes. Now, if I'm experimenting with something, it might take a lot longer. So kind of 30 minutes is the limit. Try not to go over an hour, because I know they can really drag on and you get to a point where you're just babbling, kind of like I'm doing now. Let me, for the heck of it, find out how to go back to screen sharing, and I'll share the full screen. And we're going to share. And then we'll go to, let's see, Alt Tab to SDR console. Now here's SDR console again. Like I say, this one has been around for quite a while. This is version 2.3. Simon, is mostly got all the bugs worked out of this, and it's pretty stable as compared to the new version, which is in experimental stage, which is version 3. So now that I know that is working, I'm going to go back and read all the documentation that's out there for this thing, and relearn how to use it. I remember using this Frequency Explorer. He's got some defaults, as you can see here, which was really nice for jumping around the bands. And then you can add your own frequencies. For instance, what I will probably do, what I will do is I will go through and add the international broadcast stations that I listen to. So I'll do that. The beauty of this program is it has tons of features, plus it works pretty well. And it turns out it works for this FiFi SDR. But right now, since I've forgotten most of the stuff about it, I'm not going to talk about it today, but I will do a show on this and show you some of the many features it has, and the fact that it works pretty good with the FiFi SDR. Now, one thing that I've learned about the FiFi SDR is it doesn't have wide band capability. For instance, the SDR Play, which is about the same price, it's $150, it has the capability of viewing in the spectrum display up to 8 megahertz, where this is like, let's see, right now we're 7.8 to 7.2 in this program. Now, I don't know if I can push it more than that or not. Might be able to push it more than that. Again, I'm retraining myself on how to use this particular software. So that's the kind of things that I will do a hangout. And so another thing is that I'm planning on doing is I have that Radio Shack shortwave radio, of which I did a show on and mentioned that there are a number of modifications that you can make to that radio to improve it. And one major modification I'm going to try is when it comes standard, it has the drawback that it mutes the audio when you're tuning. And I hate that. I hate it. Why they do that, there's probably some reason, but I don't know. So anyway, there's a very simple mod where you pull a wire on one of the connectors that you can make to that radio and turn that off. And what I want to do is do a live show where I show you the radio working, then I take the cover off, and then I pull that pin, put the cover back on, or not even put the cover back on, but turn the radio back on and see if with the muting while tuning turned off, are there negative things? Is there is the radio like horrendously noisy? So that's one thing that I could do in a hangout. So let's close this down once again. Stop sharing. Go back to my desktop webcam. The other thing I'd like to do is do some shows where I invite someone to do a show with me. Now, I did that back in 2016, I did that with one gentleman because he had a radio that I couldn't afford, that I wanted, and he doesn't have a channel that I wanted to share with my audience. We did that. Unfortunately, back then, Hangouts were having problems. When it processed the video after the show, it lost it. So that show, which was a very nice show, is gone. Gone. So anyway, we're up to 30 minutes, so I think I will end the show. Thanks for everybody that came by and watched live and was in the chat room. So I scheduled this one about a half hour in advance. I probably, like I said, I'm going to try to do them on Saturdays, not necessarily every Saturday, and I'm going to try to do it between 9 or 8 and 10 o'clock on Saturday mornings. And that gives me the advantage of, number one, it's the weekend, so more people might be available to come in live. It's early in the morning here in the United States, but maybe not too early, although on the West Coast, it would be 5 a.m., so that's a little early. And it's not too late in Europe, and it's over in Asia, 12 hours difference. It's only 8 or 9 at night, so it's not too late at night. So I think that's a good time. If you have any suggestions, please let me know. If you have any suggestions, like I say, about Hangouts, either leave a comment or send me an email to TRRS73@gmail.com. Thanks everybody for watching. Thanks for everybody that contributed. Bye-bye.